So there's a financial decision that most people approaching retirement take about 5-10 minutes to make up. But it's one of the few decisions in retirement that you can't undo. Or you can only undo it once and almost nobody does. And it can affect your overall income by tens of thousands of dollars over the course of a long retirement. And I'm really talking about when to take Social Security. My name's Matt Landon. This is Money and Meaning. And right now, we're going to talk about Social Security time, when to claim it, why it matters more than people realize, and why the right answer looks different for every family. Now, this isn't a complicated topic, but it is one where the default choice, taking it as soon as you're eligible, it often isn't the right one. Now, let's start about what that decision looks like. You can take Social Security as early as age 62, but if your full retirement is age somewhere between 66 and 67, it depends on when you were born. And if you wait until all the way until age 70, that's when your monthly benefits reach the maximum. The difference between claiming at 62 and claiming at 70, that can be as much as 76 cents. That is not a small number. That is a fundamentally different income stream for the rest of your life. And so what I see a lot of time is something like this. Somebody turns 62, they see that they're eligible and they go ahead and take Social Security. They're not in financial trouble. They just figure, why wait? Money's available, take it now. What they don't always factor in is Social Security is income adjusted and it's guaranteed for life. Every day you delay past that initial, your benefits growing by about 8. And there aren't many places in retirement planning where you can get a guaranteed 8% rate of return just by waiting. So what a lot of people tend to do is run what's called a break-even analysis. They look at Social Security at 62, or they look at Social Security at full retirement, or they look at Social Security at 70, and they say, okay, at 62, if my check is $1,000, I get it for this many years. How much money have I claimed? If I get it at 66 and I run it for this many years, how much money have I claimed if I do the same thing at age 70? And at what point do each one of those columns reach the same amount? And typically that break even point is going to be in your 80s. It's usually going to be around 82. Some people it's a little bit earlier, some people it's a little bit later. That math is real, but I would argue it's not the full picture. For example, if you're still working in your early 60s, Social Security can actually reduce part of your benefit. That's temporarily. The IRS is going to withhold a portion of your benefit. If your income exceeds certain income thresholds, it changes year to year. Most people don't know that. So if you're still working, I wouldn't take Social Security. If you're going to turn around and give that whole check back, what's the point? Another thing to keep in mind is your health. That matters a lot. If you believe that your retirement is going to be shorter due to certain health conditions that you have, claiming earlier is probably going to make more sense, but it's going to depend. If your family tends towards longevity, waiting often wins. And then there's your overall income picture. If you actually genuinely need Social Security at 62 to cover living expenses, that's a legitimate reason to file. But if you don't, if you have other income you can draw on early in the years of retirement, delaying it is worth a serious look. The other thing to keep in mind here is with beneficiaries and for your spouses. So when we talk about beneficiaries, people go straight towards kids, right? That's the first thing you think of. You might even think of your grandkids. But your first beneficiary is probably going to be your spouse. And so for couples, this isn't just a personal decision, it's a household decision. And the stakes are higher than a lot of people realize because when one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse keeps the higher of the two Social Security benefits. The smaller one stops. Along with that, you go from being in a joint tax bracket to being in a single tax bracket. So the income that you have from other sources, be it IRAs, be it from pensions, they're going to be taxed at a higher rate than they would have been. So we work with a lot of couples where one spouse has significantly higher income than the other in their working years. And in those situations, possibly delaying that Social Security for the higher income earner, it's one of the largest, most powerful financial protections that you can put in place for your surviving spouse. It locks in the largest possible benefit. Now, the other beneficiary, the other spouse, you can still claim earlier, and that's usually fine. But the higher income earner's decision, it deserves a lot of attention before anybody else files, because it can also factor in under the spousal benefit. That's different than when someone passes away. It's that spousal benefit. Now, here's the thing. You might be taking away from this that Matt is saying, oh, everyone should wait until 70 to take Social Security. It's not true. It really depends on your situation. And I would argue that your money is a tool, and the decisions that you make, some of them are going to be more permanent than others. And decisions that you make with your social security tool, how you take that money, it's really difficult to unwind it. And in most cases, you can't. So I would say the families that are feeling the most confident in retirement, they're not necessarily the ones that claimed at an optimal age on a spreadsheet. They're the ones that made the decisions with full information, understanding their health, their income needs, their spouse's situation, and how it all fits together. I would argue that's what good planning looks like. So if you're within a few years of claiming Social Security and haven't had a dedicated conversation around it, around timing, around how it all comes together, I think it's worth doing. The other thing that happens here is there is a difference between a conversation, which can give you that confirmation, right? And just information. You can get that from a calculator. You can get that from a spreadsheet. What you can't get is that conversation and the confirmation that you're doing the right thing. So feel free to visit Semmax.com and schedule a conversation with someone on our team. We'd be glad to walk it through with you. Thanks for listening to Money and Meaning. My name is Matt Landon. I hope you have a wonderful day.